Thank you again for being here, and in every convention, I think you agree with me, one of the highlights is a lot of the stuff that you're going to learn here, but it's also reestablishing relationships with fellow veterans from the UK to Vietnam, from Okinawa to Korea, from California to New York. It's an opportunity to get together and to renew relationships, friendships. That's always the key to convention. So thank you again for being here. Welcome to Berkeley. I'm going to turn it over now to Denny Riley, who is the... okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Who is it here? Why don't you come up here and introduce us? This is Denny. Denny's been one of the driving forces behind he and Paul Thompson.
Right there. We are going to have ceremonial and performed across by a native Californian. So, the floor is yours.
First of all, I'd like to say good morning. I'd like to say good morning. All the comments that they covered, and that's what we all concerned about, about our planet, and our things. So they say, that 70% of the forest is dying. And myself, I witnessed that up in Mariposa, where they have that beetle coming in and destroying the forest. They say that the oceans are fished out, and things like that. And so we are concerned about our seventh generation of our children. So all these topics that you have, we really, I wouldn't say the word sympathize, but, we have empathy. We have empathy. And all of the things, from the Vietnam era, and all of the things, that it affected, from the year 2016 now, we still carry that pain. Again, we must know, we must remember, and we must never forget. That's the same thing that we talk about, the genocide, that happened to our people, and the struggles that we have in poverty, third war, people on our reservations, still, we're survivors, like that. And so we must work together. And through our songs is open your heart, and we pray, again, like I said, we must remember, we must know, and we must never forget. So with that said, I want to introduce my relative here, like that, and we'll sing a couple songs. But I'm really honored to be here. Myself, I'm a veteran, 1969 era, and I went in 1967. My brother was in I think, 65, and really hit hell up there in Vietnam in his time. And, but I'm really honored to be here. And as I look around, I says, my God, I'm getting in age, all of us at one time were young guys, and it's just something, that we remember things, and we also, support you through our prayers, to everything, like that. I hope.
I'm not a veteran, but I'm a veteran of Alcatraz. I'm a veteran of Yaki and Ma. That we, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm a veteran of that. And fighting for our rights in our country, and I'm still standing. I just come from Alcatraz. We've been out there doing our ceremony, praying for our people, and I came here today to sing songs for all my brothers and my cousins that died in the Vietnam War. I lost a lot of people, and I feel bad for them because they had no reason to be going to no war when we didn't have to. We already been beaten. Why we were drafted into the war again? But that's the way it went. But all I'm here is for. I want to pray for my brothers and sisters with you guys, in solidarity with them and with all our people that we lost over there. So that's why I'm here today, to support that and support you guys to carry on your struggle. Oh.
And in honor of all our fallen veterans, and in honor of all of our fallen veterans, just please stand up and in a moment of prayer and remember those that are left that are gone in that way. Okay. All right, here we go.
This song, we just want to remember all our brothers and sisters that have fallen, and many more that's still going to happen. We know that's going to, something dreadful is going to happen. This is prophecy. We know that's going to happen in our world. In our Indian world, we know that. I don't know about your world, but in our world, these prophecies come to our people to tell us how to protect ourselves. This is why we're given these songs. We are all warriors. I know I'm a warrior by heart, and I will fight for my people. Straight up. I'm not scared of nothing. Never been. We raised that way. Oh. Yakapadi, Nami Chishkan way Yakodi Yakap, and hear our songs Yakapadi for our brothers and our sisters Yakapadi. Yakapadi, I ask you to touch each and every one of those people here today. Talk to them, Yakapadi. Give them the ideas, how to help us. Make peace with all of us, Yakapadi. Father, I just thank you for this day. Oh!
One song, so you give me a rolling drum. Oh, Padre, Wana said Wana, so Padre, Wana said Wana. One I said, hey! One I said, one I. So hard, oh, one I said, one I. So hard, oh, one I said, one I. One I said, hey, one I said, one I. So hard, oh, one I said, one I. So hard, oh, one one I said, one I hey! One I said, one I, oh, yeah. Oh, our songs are the prayers, the thoughts, the things that we feel, the empathy, or just open your heart, and we ask Grandfather to give you all strength and ask Creator to continue to give you the courage to endure and to things to do, the empathy that we have for the world, for our Mother Earth, for our tree, for our oceans, for our new generation. It's really sad, like the waters, some of the waters you can't even get in now. You can't even swim in them. And we wonder about our children, because sometimes in these urban cities, they can't even come out in the daytime because the air is not good to breathe. So what is it going to be for our generation of children? So we must protect and we must take care of that. Aho, all my relations.
Tough act to follow. But here I am. I'm actually going to read something I wrote that's in the book, and I'll try to get through it quickly. We are here to forge a new future, a future responsive and responsible to both peace abroad and peace at home, a future invested in building a sustainable and peaceful world for our children's well-being, not simply in words, but in deeds and in sacrifice, in the recognition that we enjoy more than our share of the world's wealth, consume more resources, create more waste, exhaust more pollution, and care less about it than anybody anywhere in the world. From the opening plenary to the closing ceremony of the 31st Veterans for Peace Convention is a lesson in how to get a grip on ourselves and our behavior, and how to steer our future in a direction beneficial to all humankind and every other living organism on Earth. So, I believe that Mary Jean Robertson didn't make it today. So I'm going to introduce the next speaker, Nate Tirani, a Navy veteran who served in military intelligence with the DIA. And since he's worked in state politics and with nonprofit organizations, and currently works with veteran groups to stomp out hate speech about Muslims. Nate? My name? Wait a minute. You don't know my name? I'm Denny Riley. And this is Nate. Thanks.
Brothers and sisters, good morning. You okay? Is there a way to turn the volume up at all?
Just tilted. Thank you. Got it.
Can you hear me? Is it okay? No? How about right here? Okay. So, brothers and sisters, good morning. My name is Nate Tirani. I'm one of the regional organizers for Veterans Challenge Islamophobia. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Navy, and I'm an American Muslim. I've been asked to share a little bit about... Thank you. That's refreshing. Usually the other way. So I've been asked to share a little bit about my personal story with you this morning. My grandparents immigrated to New York from Iran over 50 years ago, and I grew up predominantly in scenic central New Jersey. I played Little League for the Raritan Red Sox and soccer for the Raritan Rovers, and I was equally terrible at both. My best friend Jimmy and I idolized firefighters and cops in our neighborhood in New Jersey, and I told Jimmy that I wanted to serve in uniform someday. I grew up with a single mom who worked from morning till night to support us. Mom and I were like Batman and Robin, but she was Batman, of course. She had to do all the things she did and still always had time to come home, help me with my homework, take me out to the soccer field, and let me kick goals. She's the strongest, most loving person I've ever known. She was our Cub Scout den mother. She's a lifelong athlete and competed in the 1972 Olympics in 2 events, in basketball and swimming. When I was being sworn into the Navy, I gave her my camera to take some photos of the ceremony. But she was crying so hard that the only pictures I got were some broken images of the carpet at MEPS. When I asked her why she was crying, she said, was she mad or anxious about my joining the Navy? She said, well, yes, I'm anxious, but I'm crying because I'm so proud of you. She was proud of me, a Muslim mom crying because she's immensely proud of her Muslim son joining the U.S. Navy. She cried even harder when I was selected to serve as the first Muslim American member of the Presidential Honor Guard in D.C. I joined the Navy not because of a want or need to commit violence, but because of the tenets set forth in my faith and the responsibility of service to one's fellow people. Now, I'm certain that in this room we can debate the appropriate sentiment over one's joining and serving in the military, but what cannot be debated is the absolute love of country held by American Muslims. You see, I tell you my very personal story because we as a society have lost control of the narrative with regard to American Muslims and the Muslim community writ large. There are forces in this country, outside of this room, that would have you believe that my story is not possible in America, that my religion runs counter to the values upon which we were founded. But you see, I learned from my grandfather, an Islamic scholar, about the tenets and commandments of my faith. And it was because of my faith that I found the strength and resolve I needed to persevere in the Navy. My faith propels me to protect and stand up for equality and freedom of religion, but it also compels me to always live in truth and right action. So please don't get me wrong. It compels me to speak out against injustice. It compels me to speak out and say, wait a minute, we're really at war in the Middle East for oil and for money? Wait a minute, we've caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians, destroyed their nations, desecrated and smeared the tenets of an entire faith of 1.6 billion people, so we could perpetuate endless warfare around the world? I tell you my story because for so many Americans, a Muslim is a nameless, faceless, hooded thug in the desert, yelling in Arabic while committing unspeakable acts of inhuman violence. For so many Americans, a Muslim is the bearded recluse plotting and scheming an attack in the shadows of a mosque. For so many Americans before 9/11, a Muslim was the unknown. It was within the vacuum of this unknown after 9/11, where eager, warmongering voices were waiting to fill the silence. These voices, these talking heads, had a plan. The plan was create an enemy, play upon the fears of the American public, create flashing graphics of color codes and danger warnings. Have it all revolve around the new enemy, Islam. Islam is to blame for your feelings of fear. Islam is violent, and so we must go to war with it to make peace with it. It sounds crazy, but it worked like gangbusters. And those who knew better spoke out, but had their voices drowned out for being unpatriotic and un-American. A 24-hour stream of bigotry, hatred, and mass brainwashing was occurring to perpetuate the existence of this enemy. Them versus us, the battle for Western civilization, hatred and warfare, which we must perpetuate to demonstrate our civilized ways. And as Muslims in the United States were having their mosques and homes firebombed, girls walking home were having their headscarves yanked from their heads before being assaulted, students in Chapel Hill, North Carolina were in their homes executed simply because of their Muslim faith, Some people started to question the road that we had come down as a nation. What was occurring? What was the name of this new mass societal insanity? This explosion of bigotry. What was it? Islamophobia. It's a mouthful, to be sure, but it represents what we must defeat to recapture the soul of our nation. It is the civil rights battle of our time, because without Islamophobia, the powers that be could not perpetuate their endless cycle of warfare. Without Islamophobia, there no longer exists a clash of civilizations. There is no longer a them versus us, because the them is us. This is precisely why Veterans Challenge Islamophobia exists. VCI was born of the ideal that as American military veterans, we hold a special and sacred trust with the public. That trust bestowed upon us uniquely imbues upon us the responsibility and more importantly, the ability to call out bigotry and hatred and the perpetuation of endless warfare. We have a unique voice in reaching out to the American Muslim community to let them know that they have allies and their allies are American veterans. We stand with them, and for those of us who are Muslim vets, we stand among them. In the wake of the Orlando shooting and the attempt to pit the Muslim community against the LGBT community, VCI was able to mobilize and respond on the ground to show unity and support. VCI organizers have met and sat with leaders in the Muslim communities throughout Ramadan for their iftar dinners and to break fast with them together. We're doing some great things, but there are too few of us. So we need your help. We need you to join us. We need to do this together as a family for peace and as a movement for peace. Because without overcoming Islamophobia, we cannot overcome the march towards war in the 21st century. There's something else that my faith teaches me. It's to have an unerring faith in the possibilities that humanity can achieve together, united. So please join us in this endeavor. Thank you.
So before I introduce the next person, I want to make three little announcements. Into the mic is the one announcement I want to make. Speak into the mic. Yoga will be in room 102, right over here, in the mornings at 7. And 12-step program is meeting in lounge 8. And meditation is meeting in lounge 7. Okay? So I now want to introduce Paul Cox, who's actually the guy that dragged me into Veterans Retreats about 25 years ago, and a good friend, and many of us know him here. He's diligent, hard-working guy who has little respect for anything. Paul Cox.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to keep this short. First, a couple of housekeeping things. It's come to our attention that not everybody knows when lunch is or when the meals are served. So you've already figured out breakfast is from 7 to 9, right? Lunches are from 11 to 2, 3 hours. However, most of our workshops and so forth, like the Islamophobia Plenary right after this, go till noon. So if you're not in a workshop or a plenary, you probably should go eat early and beat the rush, right? And also sometimes workshops open up in the afternoon at 1:30. So there's at between 12 and 1:30 that there's going to be a rush at the cafeteria, right? So, but they are available from 11 to 2. Dinners are from 5 to 8, but every night our events start at 7. So, deal. It's just the way it is. I hope that everybody has a wonderful time. I know getting here was a little rough. Getting out of here is going to be a bit of a rush. We have to be off campus by noon on Monday, but we hope everybody stays around because Daniel Ellsberg is going to be speaking with us at the closing plenary. and he's always worth hearing. I'd also like to announce that at noon today and tomorrow in the garden room, which is just up the walkway there, there'll be a tea ceremony that Aaron Hughes is going to be performing. It's a very spiritual and wonderful piece of community, and you should try to attend that, but that's also during lunch hour. But they can only take 25 or 30, I'm not sure what the number is. So you may, if you don't get there early and often, you may not get there. The Women's Caucus is today at noon in the executive dining room. No, I'm backwards there. The tea ceremony is in the executive dining room. The Women's Caucus is in the garden room. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, former president of our chapter, current vice president, Chapter 69, and a wonderful worker for peace and for human rights, John Caldera. John?
I know how to use this. Good morning. Good morning, one and all. I'd like to thank Paul Cox for his introduction and kind words. And I would also like to thank the San Francisco Convention and our host chapter for hosting this event for us and allowing me to speak to you. My respect and admiration goes out to all our current leadership, as well as our executive, Michael McPherson. Thank you for your countless hours in making this weekend happen. And thank you to each and every one of you for your blood, sweat, and tears towards our organization of Veterans for Peace in our pursuit of peace on earth and goodwill towards all men, all women, and all genders in between. My name is John Caldera, and I'm a first-generation American of Mexican descent, born in El Monte, California. I'm an honorably discharged U.S. Navy hospital corpsman, and I'm the current first vice commander of the Bob Basker Post of the American Legion. I'm the president of the San Francisco Veterans Lions Club, as well as the current vice president of the San Francisco Veterans for Peace, Chapter 69. We have all heard the expression that those who fail to learn the lessons of the past are doomed to repeat them in the future. The year 1964 brought many of us many lessons, yet there are some lessons that this country has failed to learn. 1964 brought us the Freedom Summer and the Civil Rights Act, which was signed on July 2nd. 1964 also brought our country into the Vietnam War. And in 1964, over 3,000 students exploded into what is now referred to as the Berkeley Free Speech Movement. And the names of some of those students will be forever remembered for their actions here on this campus. The free speech movement taught us many things, but I think to this day, one of the things that I admire most about those students was the peaceful actions that they took. First, they sat in front of a police car to keep the police from driving off and arresting one of their own. Then, one by one, they took off their shoes to climb on top of the police car without damaging it to speak on the growing movement of civil rights. Before 1964 would end, over 800 students from the University of Berkeley would be arrested for standing up for what they believed in. Over 800 students risked their future and their education for believing in a world of equality. We owe a debt to those students of 1964, and I think we are paying some of that debt back by hosting this convention here on this campus. I invite you to feel the energy of those students of the past who challenged the status quo of our country. Those students who join us in spirit, who stood up for a better world. During this weekend, remember where we are. Don't forget what happened here. And equally important, take the time to make a lasting memory of your own in our brief time together. Let this hallowed ground rejuvenate you. Let it increase your commitment and desire for peace on earth. Let this space bring you hope. Let this space strengthen your resolve. Let these grounds bring you balance. Don't forget to breathe this weekend. In fact, let's do that all together. Let's take a deep breath. Take as many deep breaths as you need this weekend. Let's all share the same air in the same space of the students of 1964. We need to be optimistic. We need hope like never before, and we need to be more gentle with each other. In a world full of violence and hate, we need to take better care of ourselves. We need to forgive each other. We need to support one another. And one way we can do that, live life like if you were pregnant. Or rather, eat like if you were pregnant. Think about it. Who takes better care of themselves than a pregnant woman? They take vitamins, they take supplements, they think beyond their own personal needs. How many of us do that or consider that? Life is about making choices and moving forward. And we need to make those choices that would advance our health and well-being. As the great Hollywood legend Betty Davis once said, old age is not for the sissies. One of my favorite lines from the film Shawshank Redemption was, get busy living or get busy dying. One way we can support each other also is by simply helping a member with his dues. I don't know how many chapters or veterans organizations here have a membership Sunshine Fund. We have one. And while the Sunshine Fund might vary from group to group, the same goal is the same, to help a veteran who may need help with their dues. In the world of KISS, which we were taught in the military, keep it simple, sweetheart, a Sunshine Fund can help as a safety net. And in this day and age of unforeseen expenses, medical things happen, it can really make a difference. And it can be a blessing knowing that an organization I believe in and invest in can, when necessary, invest in me. Again, keep it simple. Don't make this too difficult for veterans to use. But I know that the veterans who would use this benefit would appreciate it if your chapters take the time to create one. We also have to believe in redemption. The men and women that are incarcerated in our prisons and jails across this country and across the globe should not be seen as the worst thing they ever did in their lives. We have a number of veterans in our prison who have given their time, blood, and sacrifice only to be forgotten in their hours of need. We have more homeless veterans than ever before, and we have veterans committing suicide and attempting suicide at epidemic proportions. We live in a time where we don't always get to pick and choose our battles. Often the battle begins and battle lines are drawn before we even know it. And we live in a world where there is true good and true evil. And we have choices when we deal with these confrontations. We can meet them head on, we can see it through, deal with it, make peace with them, or run away. While nothing good comes from violence, very little good comes from running away. If we want to be a part of the solution, it does require action on our part. We need to be more willing to intervene. We are veterans, and one of the first things that we are taught when we join the military is know your enemy. In these battles, we need to know that we are stronger when we work together. We have to remain, in military terms, mission-oriented. And what is our mission? We are the believers of peace. And sometimes that means doing the hard work of standing up to the haters. As an openly gay Latino who keeps his hair a little longer than conventional standards, trust me, I have encountered my share of haters. And in my life, I've dealt with these different haters and their different hate speech. Hate takes energy. Haters need to be heard. Haters are loud. Haters get in your face. Haters will challenge you and your beliefs to your core. Haters come in all shapes and all sizes. They see in others what they deny in themselves, and because of that, they lash out at others. We need to allow haters to sow the seeds of their own destruction. To quote our First Lady Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. We also have to deal with the haters that use religion as a shield for their propaganda. We have to be aware of the haters that wrap themselves in the American flag. And I have to tell you that this is the hardest hater to fight, because they claim to love America, but they continue to turn their backs on our people in need. They say they love America, but they fail to understand what it truly means to be American, to embrace this land of opportunity that is a melting pot for all, not just 1% of this country. And remember, love conquers hate. If nothing else from my speech, I ask that you remember that. Love conquers hate. And in our quest for love and in our quest for peace, remember what our military training taught us. Again, keep it simple, sweetheart. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you see a hole, fill it. And of course, sometimes it's often better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission as you move forward. I would like to remind us that we are in the presence of greatness. This is a place of higher education where students challenge their teachers and their administrators. Let us learn from one another this weekend. Let us listen to each other this weekend. And don't just make a memory you will remember 3 or 4 months from now. Make a memory that will last 3 or 4 years from now, or possibly 3 or 4 decades from now. That is why we are here. We live in very troubled times with terrorists attacking our globe and across this country. Let us remember and honor those that have been killed by gun violence and by war. Let us pray for those lives that have been taken, both military and civilian. And in closing, I would just like to share with you some action of love. I feel I would be remiss if I did not remind us that it was in the early hours of June 12th, 2016, just 3 months ago, our country suffered the deadliest terrorist attacks since September 11th. The Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida was hosting Latin Night, not knowing it would become the most horrific incidents of violence against the LGBT community in this country. On that night, 49 people would die. 53 others would suffer gunshot wounds. Many of us know this. But what many of us do not know is that it was a recently discharged Marine who served in Afghanistan, whose name was Iram Youssef, and he recognized the sound of a high-caliber gunfire. It was his military training that kicked in, and he immediately created an exit strategy. He kicked through a locked door, and not only saved his life, but saved the lives of 70 others that evening by that one act. In memory of those 49 souls lost, and in memory of all the people that have suffered violence across our country, across our world, I will ask you to please stand. Please rise if you can. And 49 times, I will ask you to join me in saying, love is. Because love is love, 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 is love. Thank you very much for listening. It's been an honor to speak to you this morning, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's make some wonderful memories. My name is John Caldera. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you so much, John. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, I learned that from John Caldera, actually. Under the heading of a hard act to follow, I would like to introduce somebody you've never met before, Michael McPherson. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I get this right, John. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. I just have a few comments. I'm not even sure what I'm going to say, so I apologize for that. Okay, all right. So first thing, I want to thank everyone for being here, and I want us to think about exactly who is here. One thing about Veterans for Peace is that we are a cross-generation veterans organization, from World War II veterans all the way up to the current conflict. But we're also veterans who have decided the war is wrong. There is no other organization like us. There is at least one other organization that believes war is wrong and works very closely with us, but they are not cross-generational like we are. So that makes us very special because it's hard, for one thing, it's hard to be cross-generational, you know, because people have different ways of seeing things and doing things, and there is a generation divide. One of the things about working for peace is to bridge divides. That's a real tough divide to bridge, but Veterans for Peace is doing that. Obviously, working for peace, I mean, just look at what we are talking about just this morning when we're talking about Islamophobia. And we're talking about hate. There's no other veteran organization other than Iraq Veterans Against the War that are going to talk about those two things. So we are a very special organization, and we need to remember that and continue to work on those things that are very hard, because that's one of the things that makes us very special. But it's hard. And so I know a lot of us don't really want to work on it, but we must work on that. The other thing that is different about us is that we have military families that are part of our organization. And no other veterans organization has military families who are brave enough to speak out against wars and work for peace. That makes us very special. And we have associate members who we understand we need in order to support our work. And so there's another reason why our organization is very special. So we are working to bridge many, many divides, because I think we understand, once again, that if you're going to work for peace, you have to bridge divides. I mean, that's the only way that you're going to bring peace about. Every year we gather like we are gathering today. And once again, there's no other organization that comes together like we do and talk about the issues that we talk about. And we talk about very serious issues. We talk about death, but we also talk about how to preserve life. And this gathering has people who are directly impacted by U.S. foreign policy to speak to us, in, like, for example, from Okinawa. Once again, that's very special, and there is another organization who would do that. That would be Iraq Veterans Against the War, but that's the only two, us and them, that would do that. And I don't know of any other organization other than Iraq Veterans Against the War, VVAW. I was going to bring them up just now, because this is something that VVAW does as well, and Veterans for Peace is bring together former combatants, people who have fought each other, to talk about the past war and how we can work together for peace. There's no other veterans organizations that do that. That's a very special thing, once again, trying to bridge divides and look for a new way to move forward. So what I want to do at this point is ask all of us to give yourselves and each other a hand for being the kind of organization that would do something like that.
So we are gathered here to share, to commune, to strategize, to talk about how we can change our society and, in fact, the world. Because if we're going to have peace, it's not just peace here, peace at home, it's also peace abroad. So we are talking about how to change the world. And when many times, traditionally, when people in the peace movement think about peace, they think about peace abroad. Once again, you can't have peace abroad, really, if you're not figuring out how to bring peace here at home. And we also are gathered here because we believe peace is possible. I mean, I don't spend the amount of time on anything to try to bring it about if I don't believe it can happen. And I spend a lot of time on Veterans for Peace. And I feel like most of you spend a lot of time on Veterans for Peace. So we believe peace is possible, and part of the reason we're here is because we believe that, but also because we want to help other people understand that peace is possible so that we can actually bring about that peace. Barry talked a little bit about the fact that, and this convention is about this, about climate, about the environment, and climate change, and how the Pentagon has realized that this is a threat to U.S. security, and we realize it's not necessarily a threat to U.S. security, it's a threat to world security, which obviously means it's a threat to U.S. security. And also how poverty is a threat to U.S. security, and once again to world security. And we also know that war is. And the reason that I'm bringing that up, because I really want to drive home the importance of understanding peace at home, peace abroad. Because poverty is a serious problem here in the United States of America, and it's a serious problem across the globe. And the thing about that is that the same forces that are making poverty a problem here are the same forces that are making poverty across the globe a problem, and at least a portion of them are the same forces that are driving war. So we, as Barry mentioned about uncovering connections, because we have to remember the connections are there. And whether or not we like it or not, and some of us might disagree with peace at home, but remember, it's not just peace at home, it's peace at home, peace abroad. It's not just one or the other, it's both. It kind of doesn't matter how you feel about it, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, because it's just the way that it is. And so the question is, do we want to be effective in how we address things? Or do we just want to feel good and feel like we're doing the right thing? I like feeling good, and I like feeling like I'm doing the right thing, but I mostly like being effective at what I'm doing. And the thing is, and this is really important, that as we're in solidarity with people, and I want people to understand, when you look at the business meeting, I'm going to talk about our work has not changed. And when we go through what our work is, you will see that we're not trying to be leaders on these other issues, because we can't be. The Movement for Black Lives doesn't want a predominantly white organization to try to lead it, right? That's not the issue. The issue is understanding that there are connections and being in solidarity, so that when domestic issue organizations talk about their issues, and they reach out to each other because they see that there are connections domestically, but they always seem to leave out the war part. They leave that out, right? But because if we understand that these connections are there, and we're able to talk about them, so when I go and talk to domestic issue people and I'm able to say peace at home, peace abroad, and they go, wow, that makes sense. And now all of a sudden we can have a different conversation than the one that we could have had before. And then that opens up new possibilities. And that's what, to me, peacemaking is about, seeing and opening up new possibilities and acting on them. And that's the only way, in my estimation, we're going to be able to do that, is when we talk to each other, stand in solidarity with each other, learn from each other, and then we'll see the world differently. And obviously, in order for the world to be different, we have to see it differently, and we have to act differently in it. So that is what peace at home, peace abroad is about. And I think when we talk about climate change, and we talk about poverty and war, we're manifesting that reality. So I just wanted to say, one other thing. Please come to the event tonight. That's really important because it's not here, so you're going to have to get on something to go to it, and you might not feel like going because you're going to have a long day. So I really hope that you will participate in the event tonight. And also Sunday night, we're going to have a song and dance celebration where we're going to have members of Veterans for Peace performing. So I hope that you will come to that as well. And I just want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate being the Executive Director of Veterans for Peace. You know, I'm not going to always be the Executive Director, but there's not going to be anything any better than being part of this organization and being its ED. So I guess I've kind of lived like at the top of what my life is going to be to some extent, except for my grandchildren and my wife. That's a personal level, but at a professional level, I think this is kind of it. So I really appreciate it and thank you for being here, and we're going to have a great and wonderful convention.